I don't know if you saw my quote that I posted earlier today, but I wanted to jump on and talk about that a little bit, get some feedback, and maybe see whether you agree or disagree with it. And it's through science that we prove, but through intuition that we discover. And ironically, there's a lot of science that backs that up. That science is where we prove things, and intuition, though, is often where our discoveries and our insights and our aha moments come from. So I can tell you that, a lot of scientists out there get their biggest breakthrough moments through their dreams and through intuitive messages. So like Einstein is one of them. He had a dream about the speed of light and stars, and that led him to his discovery of the theory of relativity. Pretty cool, right? I think that's awesome. I'm really a big fan of his, although I'm not the biggest fan of science in the world. I think because our society is like so focused on science and data, and it's sort of like the spreadsheet of the human experience rather than the dream, the intuitive message, the heart of the human experience, which is more the space I want to live from. So another guy who had a real breakthrough, real aha experience with intuition versus science was Niels Bohr. He discovered, or his intuitive dream led to a discovery on the structure of atoms. So, he had this dream about electrons spinning inside the atom, and that led him back into his work to make that theory a proven fact in science. So again, pretty cool that these famous scientists are getting dream messages, and yet we don't respect that part of the human experience so much in mainstream. So another one is more of a mathematician, and he was very untrained. Like, he had very little training and came up with almost 4,000 different mathematical theories that for the most part were proven right. And I think you say his name, let me read it, Srinivasa Iyengar Ramanujan. And, again, super cool. Like, he didn't even have much training at all, and yet came up with tons of mathematical theories that people with way more training, way more data, right, couldn't figure out. And so I'm curious if you've had any experiences out there in your life, like in relationships, in jobs, in art making, or as a musician, when we learn to access that as our power and protect our energy field and things like that, it can really be and is a superpower, just like imagination and all kinds of other, inner powers that I talk about, such as like your inner radiance that comes from your solar plexus or navel chakra, some people call it, or our sensuality from our sacral chakra. And rather than always being this like avert like sexuality, it can be more of like this, no, it's a sensual nature of like being connected to all our senses, and one of those, right, is our intuition. And our empathy is like straight from the heart. So that's really important for me as an artist, and for me as a human, and for all of you out there that are sort of wondering, like, who are you, or trying to find yourself, or trying to find what you're passionate about, or going through a phase in life that has you confused. Your intuition can lead you there with its curiosity. And I can give you a really cool story about my life. So when I was young and in college, I was being trained as a graphic designer. And I had no big picture as like what my career would be, but I just sort of knew like I would own my own business. I had no plan to get there. I had no task list as I've learned to create, growing into maturity. Like, I sort of want to unlearn that stuff now. But, I had no plan. I just knew it. I knew intuitively that that was my path. And so I unconsciously started making little decisions to get me there. I took lesser paying jobs to learn how to run the back end of a business. I started saving all my money on the side so that at some point I could quit my job and have at least a year's income just to survive with. And eventually all those stars aligned, and I just decided, okay, I'm going into business for myself. And so back in the 90s, I was 25, a real hippie, I only had a associate's degree education. So there were a lot of ad agencies I was out there competing with, and people with much better educations, much better funded than me. Yet I didn't really look at any of that. I just sort of knew this was my path, and I jumped out and I did it. And I even did it against all the pressure of my family saying, like, that's not going to work. Yeah, I even had one family member tell me I was going to be living in the gutter if I pursued that path. But instead, by just naturally believing myself, not overthinking it, not thinking about it much at all, just doing it and like loving it and believing in the dream, I had that business for over 20 years. And at one point I had my baby, I was supporting my husband, I paid off a mortgage in 8 years, all of that while running a business, going through 2 recessions. And so I didn't end up in the gutter. And my dreams really led the way to that future, and the future I'm living now. And that, like, you too, whatever your dream is, don't think it's too far away. Don't think it's unrealistic. It's only unrealistic for the people who don't dare to dream. They are the ones who it is truly impossible for, because they'll never take that step. And the way I look at it is, even if I fail at my next dream, so what? If I don't do it, I definitely failed, right? And even if I fail and move on, I can look back and go, yes, at least I tried. At least I had the courage of my convictions, and I went for it, and I didn't live small. And also, anyone else out there, you know, really, the biggest lie I think we're told, and that I noticed really young in life as a child, was like that security is the thing that's important, that going for the safe job, the most financially secure, dependable thing was the right choice. Well, I looked at that from the people around me, and I was like, looks like a trap to me. You know, none of them were living their best life. They were secure, they were safe, but that's it. They weren't happy. And so I would rather live insecure and follow my dreams. And like I said, be willing to fail. Who cares if I fail? Who cares? At least I've tried, because without ever starting, I've definitely failed. I've locked into that failure before ever beginning. And so there was another quote I heard recently that I thought was super cool, and it makes, and I say that a lot, I'm sorry, super cool. You hear that a lot, I noticed it in my videos. But it is that the intelligence of the heart makes the brain look like the village idiot. And I think that's so funny and so relevant to how the world is today, right? We've been living in this like logic-based, linear, fear-based, resistant type of mindset for hundreds, thousands of years now. And where is it getting us? Yeah, we have all these great scientific advances that we put out in the world before we ever know the effect they'll have on us and our environment, right? Does that make any sense? Like, to me, the same with the AI out now. It's like, ooh, AI. I want nothing to do with it, because until we figure out the consequences, 7 generations forward, like the Native Americans, I don't think we're responsible enough to be using it. And all of our science has proven that. So, that's what my intuition tells me. I'm curious what your intuition tells you about, AI or any other scientific advances. So many people share this perspective and don't want to say it. I know for a very little short time, I took a corporate job thinking like, maybe I'll dip back into that and have some colleagues and like get out of my comfort zone. Yeah, that was a mistake. And one of the funniest things was I had a coworker who I found out meditated, which I was like, wow, that's really great. Like, you're one of the leaders here, let's talk about it more. And he was like, well, shh, don't tell anybody. And I was like, why wouldn't you want to tell anyone? Why wouldn't you want to inspire and motivate and give people another tool to use in the corporate world to like, come down back to center, calm before a big meeting, channel their intuitive power when it comes to problem solving and innovation in the corporate world. But he was worried he would be looked at like some kind of oddball. Even when I mentioned how many scientists, use their intuition, how many famous sports stars and CEOs now meditate and make it part of their business culture, it was still like he didn't want to be the one. But, I was the marketing director and creative director there, and I didn't really care. People knew I meditated, and nobody said anything about it. I don't know if they loved so much when I locked my office door and meditated. I don't know if they knew what I was doing, but it was a requirement to me. So again, that was my intuition saying like, oh my God, this day's insane. Drop back in, shut out all this other craziness of, 200 emails a day trying to process and 5 more meetings to get a handle on. Any little insight I can give you or pass along to me is like, I'm just planting a seed. I feel like that's my job in the world as an artist, as a business owner, as a human, as a meditator, as a workshop facilitator and teacher, is like, I'm just planting seeds out there. I'm just like Michelle Johnny Appleseed, planting seeds that may not sprout right away, but I guarantee the people watch, it does plant a little seed in their brain. And when that seed is ready to sprout, it magically appears when the time is right for you or for them, right? It might be 10 years from now. We're all on different timelines. We're all on different journeys. And all I want to do is help you on yours. So one last thing I want to say before getting off today, I don't want to take up too much of your time, is I want to mention that I have a free course right now. You can sign up for it. It's called the Free Your Heart-Chakra Challenge. It includes a little meditation, some journaling, information about the heart chakra. And it's all about getting out of your mind into your heart. And it also has a little art play, what I call a water doodle. And so anyone can do it. I used watercolor and just ballpoint pens. You could use crayons, pastels, acrylic paint, a bunch of colored pencils. You could just use regular pencil or pen if you want. It doesn't have to be full of color. It's really about the process. And that's where the magic happens, is it goes a lot into the left brain versus right brain, which is connected to the heart. So you can feel that difference, and you can, with practice, learn how to access that much quicker and get out of that like crazy hamster wheel that's in our head all the time, where we're replaying conversations that'll never happen, or running to-do lists that, we already got that. Why are we repeating that and stressing ourselves out? So I hope some of you take a moment to yourself, to refill your cup before it goes empty, and to free your heart with my chakra challenge. Again, it's free, so go ahead and try it out.